Well, if you look at this, there's a real problem with autoimmune diseases. This isn't even the whole list of them. I mean, this is just the major ones. There's a lot of different autoimmune diseases. And autoimmune diseases are going up. Since the 50s, it's going up like this. I mean, autoimmune diseases seem to be the diseases of today. We had infectious diseases and filth diseases, back in the last century. This century, we've got autoimmune diseases. And isn't it interesting that it's not just us, it's our pets too? It's not the wild animals, they haven't come down with it. It's our pets and us. And some of these diseases used to only be found in adults. Now they're being found quite often in children. It's kind of scary. It really is. We don't really have time for all of them, do we? But yes, we do, because what we're going to do is we're going to roll them all into one. And let's talk about this one, and I think that'll take us into other ones. Okay, rheumatoid arthritis. That seems to be the most common. 3% of the population tends to have a rheumatoid arthritis. And you have a couple of different types. You've got the type that it's like it seems to get better, then it gets worse, and it seems to get better, and then it gets worse, and then you have a period of inactivity, then it gets worse, and then you have the other type that just gets worse every day of your life. Dr. Christopher was born with the first type of rheumatoid arthritis. When they found him in the orphanage, he had swollen up ankles, and he was about 18 months old. And it's something that he dealt with his lifetime, looking for different things. Since it gets progressively worse, he should have never survived as long as he did without being totally crippled and bedridden. But he didn't seem to have any arthritis when he died. So, it's just something that he really worked at. And we'll kind of give you some of the things that he did to get over his. But I think to clarify what rheumatoid arthritis is, rheumatoid arthritis is just one of a number of different types of arthritis. And let's quickly go through the other types of arthritis just so we won't get them confused. Gout is a type of arthritis that kind of has to do with diet, doesn't it? And the problem with gout is that you can't break down your proteins properly. And so if you're not breaking down your proteins properly, basically what's happening is you're getting a lot of uric acid from an inability of the body to utilize protein. And when you get large amounts of uric acid build up in the system, then the body has to compensate by dissolving bone, which is alkaline, to combine with the uric acid to eliminate that from the system. So to balance the body back out, the body actually has to dissolve the bone to make up for the uric acid. And one of the simplest things to do with this one is just stop eating meat. At least until we resolve the situation. I mean, if you can't give it up your lifetime, fine. But while we're trying to resolve the situation, that's one of the best things to do, is just to give up meat and some of these proteins that are really hard to break down. The next type of arthritis we want to talk about is infectious arthritis. This is brought about from infection in the system, as the name would tell. And the easiest way to deal with that one would just be to use something like garlic to take care of the situation. So you're all becoming budding herbalists and should know all the stuff before I say it. But yeah, with that one, we just use things that is going to stimulate the immune system. Garlic does that. You can use a lot of onions. The echinacea, calendula. If you want to go real strong, like poke, I wouldn't suggest it. And those types of herbs. Red clover works really nicely as an immune stimulant. And astragalus, echinacea, all those are really good, really good. Okay, so we don't have to spend any time on these. Bursitis is just inflammation of the bursa, which is the little water sacs around the joints. And as we get into talking about these other ones, we'll talk about what to do for that, so we'll just go on. Osteoarthritis is an interesting one. In America, it's interesting. here's our drain right here. And so if we leave a drain open, it's coming out the bottom here, how long is it going to take to fill up the basin? A long time, or it may never fill up. And that's the problem with America, is we're pouring in so much calcium for osteoarthritis, but the drain's open. And it's coming out as fast as it's going in. American women get 3 times the calcium that Asian women get, with twice the bone breakage. You look at the whole population, it's that way. We have the most affluent society. We can afford more calcium. We get more of that nutrient in than anybody in the world. We drink more milk than anybody in the world. And we have more of this osteoarthritis than anybody in the world. So go figure that one. Well, with osteoarthritis, basically the bones are being dissolved to provide the calcium the body needs. Yet we're taking so much calcium in, we just can't seem to utilize it. So what we do for osteoarthritis then, of course, would be to better utilize our calcium. Not to get more calcium. It isn't going to do any good. You can pour all the calcium in you want. Until you stop up that drain, you're not going to solve the situation. And as long as you're losing calcium that fast, your bones are going to keep getting dissolved to make up for the calcium that your bloodstream needs, that your cells need. Your body's going to get that calcium one way or another, and it will take it right out of the bones, and that's exactly what's happening. And it's absolutely amazing that we have this osteoarthritis, and at the same time we have bone spurs and kidney stones and arterial sclerosis, where we're hardening the arteries with calcium deposits. So what's the problem? The problem is that we're not utilizing the calcium. We're not utilizing the calcium for a number of different reasons. Number one, we're not getting the nutrients necessary along with the calcium. Calcium can't be used by itself. It has to be used with other trace elements. Now, they've done studies and shown that, you need magnesium, you need vitamin D, but it's so much more than that. We've talked about the silicon that's needed, but there's so many other nutrients. They don't even know all the ones they need. So rather than take a calcium supplement, which isn't going to do anyway, the best thing is to look in your manuals. The nutrition almanac's a really good one. The USDA puts out a food list of all the nutrients in foods. Look at those and see what foods are high in calcium, besides dairy. The problem with dairy is it's high protein. The more protein you take into your system, the more calcium you spill off into your urine. Whether it's calcium or meat or eggs or whatever, the more protein you're taking in, the more calcium you spill off. I find it's really interesting. There's a big thing about vegetarians don't get enough, calcium. Vegetarians don't get enough protein. Vegetarians don't get enough this. Vegetarians don't get enough that. As far as the world is concerned, World Health Organization, not only do Americans get more calcium than needed and more protein than needed, so do vegetarians. Vegetarians get much more protein than is absolutely necessary to sustain life. You get way over the limit that's needed, even vegetarians. So this whole bowl thing about vegetarians don't get the protein, don't believe it. They're actually getting too much protein. We're getting too much protein in our system, and that's why we're spilling the calcium off. High protein equals loss of calcium. So you cut back on the protein, and you're going to save some of the calcium. Okay, and you get those nutrients from what? Fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. And legumes. Where's Louis? He's not here. Didn't have to say that after all. So you get the full spectrum of nutrients in, and you're going to be able to utilize the calcium. Now, another way that we lose calcium is another thing that seems to be a very favorite with Americans. And I find it's amazing that the medical profession finally got something together and started training dietitians, so that we would know what to eat. And they really hit hard on the fat and salt. But it's amazing. They don't seem to think there's a problem with sugar. These newly trained dietitians, there's no problem with sugar whatsoever. Sugar's not a problem. Well, sugar is a definite problem. And any refined carbohydrate, you're losing trace elements so quickly. Well, they don't have them in it in the first place. In order to utilize these foods, if you would call them that, the body actually has to pull from its storage to utilize them. So you're actually losing, not only do you have none in the products, you're losing 300% of your chromium, just one of the trace elements. So calcium loss is the problem, and to stop it, we just change our diets. We stop eating all these high protein foods, get away from the dairy, get away from the eggs, get away from the meat, even get away from the high grains if we're eating mostly grains. I realize everyone's saying that you need a lot of grains, and I'll tell you, winter coming up, you do. You know, and with cold weather, you do need a little more protein. A little bit of meat in the wintertime tends to be stimulating and energizing. But an interesting thing, a lot of meat during the wintertime does just the opposite. It makes you sluggish, and then you can't endure the cold. So small amounts. The Chinese had it right. You know, they chop up all their vegetables, and they add a little bit of meat into it. Americans, great big plate of meat and a few vegetables that nobody eats anyway because they're overcooked. You know, I'm not a vegetarian myself, but boy, I love to eat at vegetarian restaurants because that's what they eat, and so they fix it right. It's not just a side dish. That is the dish. So that's why I like to eat there. Okay, so that gets away from any questions on osteoarthritis. Do we know what to do? Great. Rheumatoid arthritis. Little bit more serious. Basically what's happening in rheumatoid arthritis is the body's immune system is attacking itself. Now, the way the medical profession deals with that is what? Corticosteroids, they'll give cortisone products, they'll give something to suppress the immune system. They might even do radiation therapy. And all those things can do what? Well, they might get rid of the arthritis problem, but then you might die from pneumonia or something else that the body can't fight off because you've messed around with the body's immune system. So suppressing the immune system is not the thing we want to do. You know, talking about rheumatoid arthritis, you know, look at all the different types of autoimmune diseases. You got lupus, which is like arthritis all over the whole body. The immune system attacks almost every cell it can attack. Sclerosis, basically your immune system is attacking the nerve sheath and destroying the nerve sheath around the nerves, and then you're getting misfirings, you know, and an inability to walk properly and utilize the limbs. Scleroderma, the immune system is attacking the skin. Basically, that means hard skin. Sclerosis, where basically you're getting, not sclerosis, but in the head. What is that one called? No. Oh well. We'll go on. Anyway, swelling in the head and hardening in the head. So actually your brain starts hardening. Okay, that's an autoimmune situation where you get hardening of the brain. Scoliosis, where basically you're kind of losing the shape of your spine and you get curvature of the spine where the immune system is actually attacking the spine. Hashimoto's thyroiditis, immune system's attacking the thyroid. Addison's disease, the immune system's attacking the adrenal glands. Insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus, the immune system is attacking the pancreas. Pernicious anemia, the immune system is attacking the stomach. Basically, in pernicious anemia, what happens there is that the immune system attacks where you make your gastric juices and actually was not allow intrinsic factor to enter into the stomach, which then means you can't take up B12 or folic acid, which then also means that you can't carry iron. So that's where we get pernicious anemia. Crohn's disease, basically it's kind of like all through the whole GI tract. So you get the immune system attacking the whole GI tract. It can be anywhere from the mouth to the anus. And sometimes in serious conditions, it's the whole GI tract that gets attacked by Crohn's disease. So here we have the body's own immune system attacking itself. Now, I would say now that we know what it is, the question is why? Why would the body's immune system attack itself? Basically because it's working. It's working well. The immune system is designed to recognize self and non-self, protect self and destroy non-self. It's as simple as that. And if the immune system is attacking you, then there's something that needs to be attacked. It's not that the immune system is not working, it's that there's something there that needs to be destroyed. And so if you go the standard medical route, basically what's happening there is you're not allowing the immune system to do its work, you're stopping the immune system from working, and basically you're going to let those cells grow unchecked. Whatever is happening in your body. Now, one of the things in arthritis that was discovered by two British doctors, two British medical researchers, was that iron plays a lot to do with rheumatoid arthritis. That in societies where you don't have a diet that takes in a lot of iron, you don't have rheumatoid arthritis. However, in societies that do get a lot of intake of iron, you have rheumatoid arthritis. And it depends on the type of iron you're taking in. If you're taking it in an artificial form, if it's manufactured, if it's ground up rocks like Dean likes to call it, if you just take a railroad tie and powder it up and make it colloidal and make sure that it gets into the system, yeah, it may get into the system and the body can't utilize it. And so then it's going to deposit around the joints. And when it deposits around the joints, the immune system then attacks it, and through that attack, substances that are created which actually cause the swelling, even more so than the body's own inflammatory action. So, one of the best things to do for rheumatoid arthritis is to stop taking Geritol and some of these iron supplements. You know, it's like everyone's going, we need more iron, we need more iron, we need more iron. And it's actually causing more and more problems. We had a bookkeeper come work for us. It was interesting. Lou. She had these joints, you know, she's always writing and such. This is before computers. These joints were just like double, triple the size, very inflamed, and she couldn't hardly even bend the joints. And all we did for her was had her to take distilled water. She got off of just regular tap water and started drinking distilled water. And within a week, the inflammation was gone and the flexibility was back. They were still bumps. They were still big bumps. And the longer she worked for us, the smaller and smaller those bumps became. The body actually got rid of those. So one of the best therapies for rheumatoid arthritis, if it's due to mineral deposits, that could be calcium or iron or any of those metals that we take into our system or don't even want to take into our system, we breathe into our system. Once they get in there, they have to go somewhere, and they'll usually go to the weakest part of the body. Once they're there, an easier way than having our immune system try to deal with them would be to just get them out. And distilled water is one of the best ways to do that. Okay. There was another British doctor who looked at the situation and found out that with rheumatoid arthritis, there was always an invader in there, whether it be bacteria or virus or any other type of invasion. So this parasitic invasion that happened, he would do things to kill the parasites to clear up the arthritis. Now, if the joints become weakened and deposits of minerals go in there and the body's not able to cope with that, if it becomes a weakened area, naturally there's going to be bacteria there. Naturally there's going to be lower life form to destroy which isn't alive anyway, or is almost dead. Because isn't that what nature does? Nature builds up strong and destroys the weak. What happens when a lion attacks a herd? Does it go after the strongest animal? No, it goes after the weakest one. It goes after the weakest. Well, what happens to a plant that's growing that's really strong? Is it attacked by insects? No, it's the weak plants, isn't it? The weak plants then are attacked by insects. Nature provided for us, higher life forms, these plants to sustain our lives. If the nutrients aren't in those plants to sustain life, then it's going to be offered to lower life forms. So all you really have to do is make a plant healthy to keep infestation away. Because they don't like healthy plants. They like the unhealthy plants. That's what was given to them. Same thing with your body. They don't like healthy tissue. They like damaged tissue. That's what they're after. That's why they're there. So if you go in there with an antibiotic and destroy the parasites, or flagell, or whatever doctors will use to destroy parasites, did you resolve the situation? No, you just killed the parasite. And once you've killed the parasite, then you got the dead bodies of the parasites in that same area, along with every other problem that's there, you know, whether it's a collection of minerals, or whether it's your own dead immune cells, or whatever's there, collection of blood and waste and whatever just keeps impacting in there, you're just impacting it more. Now, one of the things that are on the market that seem to be working tremendously is we take colloidal silver. That's where they take silver and they grind it up real fine, and then they make sure that they put it into a solution so it doesn't settle to the bottom. That's called colloidal. And it works fantastic. You put it on joints, it takes care of the problem. Does it take care of the problem, or does it just kill the bacteria and the parasites that are in there? Then you've got the dead bodies of the parasites and whatever's in there. So you're fine. You've got quick movement. People go, wow, that's amazing. Well, same thing happened back in the 70s. DMSO. I mean, the health industry just, whoa, DMSO. And everybody was using DMSO. And everybody got the results. And then they found out, doggone, I got to use it again. Doggone, I got to use it again. Doggone, I got to use it again. And pretty soon, they finally said, it's not working. And they stopped using it. And DMSO, which was so popular back in the 70s, early 80s, now hardly anybody's using it anymore. Because they found out it didn't solve the problem. All it killed was parasites. The joint is still clogged up with toxins. Still clogged up with the dead bodies of the parasites. And so what we have to do is let the immune system go in and take care of that. And guess what? When it does, it's going to get inflamed. You know, I always have to be really concerned with any product, like colloidal silver, that just goes in and all of a sudden, wow, the inflammation's gone. How does the body's immune system diminish that fast? Does your immune system just go, gee, the problem's solved. I'm going to create antihistamines, and I'm going to reduce the inflammation right now because I don't need to be here anymore? No. It goes in, and it kills the bacteria, it kills the parasites, and it kills your immune system. And if they can relieve their symptoms with cortisone, or if they can relieve their symptoms with DMSO, or they can relieve their symptoms with colloidal silver, or colloidal gold, or colloidal mercury, it's nothing new. Go back 200 years and find out exactly what they were using. They're using colloidal mercury. Mercury was something that was around for the last 300-400 years. You know, did it work? You bet it worked. Did it damage people? You bet it damaged people. You know, but who was looking at the long-term effect of it anyway? And also, you know, if you can make something for $1 and sell it for $80, that's a pretty good profit. You know, and I'm not saying that some of these things shouldn't ever be used. You know, maybe they do have their place. Maybe once in a while when your immune system just can't do it and you tried everything and it's a matter of life and death, you know, perhaps I would turn to something like that. But then you tell me, how is that any more natural than green bread mold? You see, while these alchemists 200 years ago were making concoctions with mercury and silver and gold and pearls and diamonds and everything else, when they were making all these crushed up things, you know, my ancestors were doing things like eating green bread. And yes, it did take care of the problem, as did the other, you know. But which one is really more natural? And which one's going to be more selective? Which one's alive? You know, and which one's inanimate? And you know, when they first came out, they first started saying, oh, it only gets the bad stuff and doesn't do the good stuff. You know the newest thing they're saying now? I've been really hammering them out there at the conventions. And now they're saying, oh, be sure to take probiotics with our product. So they've totally reversed themselves, you know. First they were promoting this thing as the wonderful, wonderful elixir for the whole flippin' world, you know, and it's not going to damage anybody. And now they're saying, take this and take probiotics at the same time. Well, why are they saying that? Because now they found out exactly what we've been saying, you know. It isn't selective. It kills bacteria. It kills flora. You know, I think the one thing that turned me on to it, that clued me into the whole situation was that it killed Candida. Candida is a flora that's supposed to be in your intestines, something that's there naturally. It ferments, breaks down sugar. And so, and it is so strong that antibiotics don't touch it. So antibiotics will wipe out all the flora except Candida. Colloidal silver will wipe out everything, including Candida. If it can wipe out Candida, why can't it wipe out the real delicate flora, of which there's, what, 200 different types? Because there's so many different functions in the body that need to be taken care of. You know, if we only had one function in our intestines, then we could just take, you know, acidophilus, and that's all we would need. But acidophilus is one flora out of 200. And when you go out in there and wipe out 200 different flora, you're going to have to get them back, aren't you? These autoimmune diseases have been with us for a long time. One of the things that probably caused autoimmune diseases back 200-300 years ago was the use of colloidal minerals. They went in there and they destroyed tissue, opened up channels into the bloodstream, allowed proteins that were unbroken down to enter the bloodstream. And then what happens when you have undigested proteins in the bloodstream? Your immune system has to deal with it, doesn't it? So it's going to create antibodies against those proteins. And so every time then that you take that particular food, your immune system has reacted to it inside of you, not inside your GI tract, no problem there, but inside of you. Therefore, every time you take that particular food, you're going to have an allergic reaction to it because your immune system is geared up towards that particular protein. Other ways that this happened was eating pork that wasn't cooked properly, and the organisms in there bored their way through the intestines, creating pathways for proteins to get through. Well, we tend to cook our pork today, so we don't have a real problem with that. But what do we do that does the same thing? Yeah, we do take antibiotics, it's true, which then wipes out all the flora in the intestines. And then the one flora that it doesn't wipe out, which is the Candida, which is a non-threatening yeast, that Candida then fills the intestines. And you remember in the intestines, they're not smooth. You have villi in here. So, we take these antibiotics, we wipe out all the friendly flora that was supposed to inhabit here. So here we have this friendly flora that's just thick on the lining here. Take an antibiotic which wipes all that out and doesn't protect us anymore. And then Candida then takes over that area. So now the green is now represented by Candida. Now when Candida does that, it changes its form. It changes its anatomy from a yeast-like form to a mycelical fungus form. Mycelical means it actually grows appendages for boring. And so the Candida, which was non-threatening in your system, then changes its anatomy and actually bores through the intestinal wall so that every time you eat something, you can go right into the bloodstream. So it seems like we're doing the same thing today that we did back 200-300 years ago, causing the same types of autoimmune problems, but we're doing even more so today because of the widespread use of antibiotics. And then companies that go out there and say, oh, you got to take this as a daily supplement. Just like chickens. You know, you give chickens antibiotics every day of their life. Does it make for a healthy chicken? Not hardly. If you give yourself antibiotics every day, especially if there's nothing wrong, you know, I think it's an absolute crime that they're giving children colloidal silver as a supplement? Give me a break. Gee. Okay. So anyway, the food then gets into your system. Unbroken down proteins. Now, do you remember our discussion before on diabetes? About what happens. You get these proteins if they're the right molecular strength, the right molecular weight. With diabetes, it was 64 kilodalton, wasn't it? Combined with the beta cells in the pancreas and then mutated. So you joined a protein with the beta cell and then it mutated. The immune system then recognizes it as being a mutant cell and then attacks it. Now, it all depends what your genetics are, where you're going to come down with an autoimmune disease. Okay? If your family has had problems with adrenal glands, if your family's had problems with the thyroid, if your family's had problems with skin problems, that's where it's going to settle. That's going to be the weakest area of the body. And so these foreign proteins, whether they're taken in through here or injected in through vaccinations, which is even more damaging because then they're alive. Then you've got live cells with the RNA and DNA still in there getting into your system. You know, I find one of the most interesting things today is the new vaccine. You know, all these other vaccines are really kind of silly, but the new one really blows my mind. Chickenpox vaccine, the herpes type virus, which lies dormant for so many years until something encourages it to come out. They're actually injecting that into your bloodstream. Isn't that something we try to keep away from? Herpes viruses? And they're injecting live cells into your bloodstream? What are the consequences of this? Well, the consequences are these injected proteins, this RNA, DNA of these other animals is getting into our body, combining with our own cells, and growing uncontrollably. So, with rheumatoid arthritis, you get these foreign proteins growing in cells around the joints, and then the immune system looks at that and says, holy scamoli, this doesn't belong here, and then we attack it. So you get an inflammation in the area because your immune system recognizes this as being non-self. Whether it's deposited minerals, whether it's chemicals that have infiltrated the cells, so the cells are then not what they're supposed to be, they're the cells plus chemicals, or whether it's foreign proteins, it's things that we do to ourselves that's causing this problem. And what do we do to our animals to give them rheumatoid arthritis? Distemper shots, rabies vaccines, which have never been proven effective anyway. You know, it's interesting, you go back to Louis Pasteur, and the most highly celebrated cases, you know, where he was supposed to save lives. Interesting. The other people that got bit by the same dog, they didn't die. They didn't take his rabies vaccine, and they didn't even get sick. You know, and case after case after case, I think Louis Pasteur's rabies vaccine really wasn't proven effective or safe. Okay, so what do we do for these things? What do we do for autoimmune disease? We create it, don't we? It doesn't just happen. You know, I find it's amazing that people still think things just happen. You know, it just goes back to the Dark Ages, you know, where they thought, well, the devil gave it to me, you know, or God's punishing me, or, you know, evil spirits invaded my soul and caused these diseases to come in. No, they don't come from anywhere but right here. We create our own noises. Hi, Peter. We create our own problems. And so we're the ones that are going to have to resolve them. How are we going to resolve them? Which one do you want to start first with? Pernicious anemia. Pick the hardest ones first, don't we? Well, they don't know if this happens from birth or what, that this intrinsic factor isn't made. Because, you know, your body's immune system is attacking the very mechanism that makes intrinsic factor, which then uptakes B12 and folic acid. So, with pernicious anemia, one of the things we're going to have to do is give the body all the nutrients that it might need. We don't even know which nutrients it is. There's never been any research on it as to what mineral or what substance is involved. It's amazing that the medical profession realizes that without folic acid, you cause birth defects. And so they'll give folic acid to pregnant women. Yet, what about all the other vitamins and minerals? Oh, no, not. You know, nutrition has nothing to do with disease, you know, but folic acid does. Well, you know, folic acid, any one of 80 different minerals that we need in our system, who knows what it is that we need? And who cares? What do we want to do? Go out and buy every supplement in the health food store? No, we want to get food that has all those nutrients in. Food that was raised so that it's rotating with the crop, so that the nitrogen's in the soil, so that you can get good, strong, healthy plants. All the minerals are there. So we eat organically grown, fresh produce. That's one of the things we do. Another thing that we can do, if we haven't gotten much access to that Vital Herb formula works really good. They went down to virgin soil and organically grew alfalfa, which sends its roots 50 feet down into the earth, 50, 70 feet down into the earth to pick up all those minerals. They grew alfalfa, they grew barley, they grew kamut, which is a non-hybridized wheat, and then they juice it with that fresh juice. They flash dry it under 100 degrees, and they capture everything. So, you know, it's the next best thing to fresh. If you can't get it fresh, you know, that would be one place to get it. And they add into that organic carrot juice and organic beet juice and so on and so forth, nutritional yeast, and it's an amazing little formula. Vital Herbs, really good. How many do you take of them? I find that I like to take 6 capsules 3 times a day myself. I like 18 a day. 2 to 6 is what's recommended. Some people do really well on 2. Some people do 2, 3 times a day. Some do well 4. I like 6. 6 seems to be a real good number for me. It seems to be a real good number for the people that I seem to be helping, you know, where I suggest this particular thing, and you get some really good results right away. Not because it's forcing its way on the body. You know, that's what your petroleum-based vitamins have to do. That's why you have to have such a large amount of them, such high dosages, so that a whole bunch can push a little bit in. If you give a little bit of those particular vitamins, the body won't take them at all. The body's going to go, I don't want that. I don't want that. So with a large amount, we push a little bit in, and then we get some results. Instead of doing that, why don't we just take it in our food source, where there's a little bit in there, and the body just takes it all up. As long as we haven't done something silly, like take antacids, or Zantac, or some other silly thing to shut off the gastric juices so we can't uptake the minerals. If you've got an alkaline environment in your stomach, you don't uptake your minerals. If you have an acid environment, you do. It takes an acid environment to uptake minerals. So if you're mineral deficient, you got to take it with the acid. Another way to get blood or proteins right into the blood is with ulcers. Where do ulcers come from? How do you get stomach ulcers? The body is designed to handle all the acid that your stomach can excrete. It's not an over-acid condition. Your body was able to, that's the way the mechanism works. You can handle hydrochloric acid. That's not a problem. So, what's the problem? The problem is an alkalinity. The problem is alkalinizing the stomach. The problem is taking antacids. The problem is drinking milk. The problem is making it an alkaline environment. What happens in an alkaline environment? Bacteria grows. Okay? And that's what they're finding out is the cause of ulcers, is bacterial growth in the stomach. The bacteria then eats the mucosa lining, exposing your stomach to the acid. The acid then doesn't care whether it's you or steak. It's going to break down protein. Whether it's your protein or steak protein or bacon protein, it doesn't really care. It's going to take protein and break it down into amino acids. Chop down those proteins into chains of amino acids. That's what the stomach's supposed to do. So as soon as you've compromised the stomach, you've created ulcers. And so basically the medical profession has caused ulcers by their stupid drugs. Zantac, antacids, all those things create ulcers. And now they finally discovered that bacteria causes ulcers. So what do they give? Antibiotics. Is that the problem? Is that the problem? No, it's not the problem. Well, it destroys the bacteria, you know. So, what do we do for that? What do we do for Crohn's disease? Well, I think one of the best things would be to soothe and heal the stomach. You know, and then we can work on keeping the bacteria out. And so I find the very best thing is 70% slippery elm. This is a real simple formula. And 30% licorice root. It works amazingly fast and heals very quickly. So for any digestive disorder, we'll want to go in there and soothe the situation. And the slippery elm is very healing in the licorice root, and it's a great combination. We've used it for extreme cases of colitis. Colitis is just like Crohn's disease in the lower part of the body, in the lower bowel. So we get it healed, and then we make sure that we're making enough hydrochloric acid to keep further bacteria away once we've healed that up. And it'll heal fairly quickly. If you want to heal real fast, generally take about 1 day. A lot of people don't want to go through the pain of cayenne, but cayenne will stop a bleeding ulcer in 1 day. Boomo. It's a real good one. I did it myself. Works really well. But the slippery elm licorice will then help heal and soothe. And then we want to make sure we're making plenty of hydrochloric acid. And cayenne's one of the ways to do that. Take cayenne pepper and you make hydrochloric acid. You don't even have to swallow it. There's therapy for you right there. You don't even have to swallow cayenne. Put it in your mouth, swish it around, spit it out, and you've made hydrochloric acid. Don't even have to swallow it. It's a reflex. It's a reflex. Sclerosis. What we're going to want to do again is calm the immune system down without compromising it. Okay? So what we want to do is allow the immune system to go ahead and destroy errant cells, but to do it in an orderly fashion. And the combination we will use for that is also a very simple one, and that is astragalus, and marshmallow. And those are just equal parts. We'll take them in large amounts. So we'll take like a heaping tablespoon of the combined herbs 4 or 5 times a day to give a calming action to the immune system, yet strengthening. Astragalus will strengthen the immune system, and astragalus and marshmallow will strengthen, yet calm the immune system. Now, while we're doing that, we're going to want to feed the body sufficiently so it can repair those nerve sheath and correct the situation. So, along with this, we'll want to take herbs specific for the nerve sheath. So that Calc T formula, excellent for repairing nerve sheath. Dr. Christopher's Relaxes, excellent for repairing nerve sheath. The Vital Herbs, excellent for providing the body what it needs to repair nerve sheath. So we'll want to go in there and repair the nerve sheath that's been damaged from the sclerosis. Do you know what? It's basically the same thing for all of those things. Calm the immune system, strengthen it with the proper foods, and then start doing some cleansing to get the system moving. In any of these situations, you can take and apply specifically on the area therapy that will move toxins out and get the blood in. So let's take Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Okay. Basically, the thyroid is inflamed there. So what we'll want to do is we'll take mullein, which is a glandular. Mulleine's a wonderful herb for the glands. We can take these other ones that we mentioned, and then along with that we take mullein, 3 parts mullein, 1 part lobelia, make a tea out of it, dip cotton cloth in it, put it right on the thyroid, and put some plastic over that, wrap it, and then do alternating hot and cold packs. 12 minutes hot, 4 minutes cold, 12 minutes hot, 4 minutes cold. Basically what that's going to do, it acts like a plunger, okay, and it gets the blood moving, gets the nutrients in, it gets the immune system in and active, and carries waste out, gets it into the lymph, and then off it goes. So, we can do that on any part of the body. We can do it on the skin, we can do it over the adrenal glands, do it over the stomach. We can even, with the stomach it's so easy because we can take it internally. So we can take the mullein lobelia internally along with these other soothing things to take care of that situation. It really isn't a problem, is it? Any questions on autoimmune diseases? Yes? Okay, lupus basically is like all of these all over the body. The connective tissue, everything is being destroyed by your immune system because in lupus the body didn't just have one weak area, the whole body's weak. And so it's susceptible to whatever it is that's causing the problem, whether it's an intake of heavy minerals or whether it's toxins from the chemicals we're taking in our food and in the water and in the air, or whether it's from these proteins that we've talked about. Whatever the situation is, in lupus, it's just every place. And so since it's systemic, we definitely want to do astragalus and marshmallow, okay, in large amounts. And it's going to take about 6 weeks to see some really good results. And it seems to work very well. Taking a tablespoon of the combined herbs, a heaping tablespoon of the combined herbs, 4 or 5 times a day. And the vital herbs, we'd want to take a minimum of 18 a day. You can get those from the herb shop, and they're at 1-800-453-1406. We're going to want to take herbs that build and strengthen the blood in lupus, and any of these anyway. And so, what builds the blood? Plant blood. What's plant blood? Chlorophyll. So plants high in chlorophyll. These real green ones. That's why these quote unquote miracle herbs are becoming so popular. Barley grass, wheatgrass, spirulina, chlorella, blue-green algae. They're miracle plants. They're very, very high in chlorophyll, and that's exactly what most people need to start building their own blood. Yeah, you know, water is a wonderful thing. Whoever invented it really knew what he was doing. Yeah, it quenches your thirst. It provides. It has colloidal minerals in it. Yes, it does. And do you know what your body has to do to all those? It has to remove them in order to utilize them. So for your internal organs to use water, it has to take everything out, because your internal organs run on distilled water. And yes, distilled water will pull those heavy minerals out, and basically we just need to take minerals in on a daily basis in the food that we eat. And it's not going to affect those. Those minerals will be used by the body. You got a constant movement, and those will be used. So, if your foods are high in minerals, you don't have a problem. If you're drinking nothing but distilled water, yeah, you'll probably die. But if you're getting those minerals in that you need on a daily basis, there's not a problem. Yes? What should we take for rheumatoid arthritis? Okay. It's interesting, some people are affected by things like tomatoes, but it's not very many. It's a small percentage of people, and for those people, it's probably a good thing to stay away from it. You know, in all these allergic type things that happen, it's probably a good thing to stay away from those foods until you build up the resistance. Now, Dean talked about that story with the walnuts last week, didn't he? You know, another person that I know, one strawberry, sent him to the hospital, anaphylactic shock. One strawberry. Now, is there something wrong with strawberries? Something wrong with strawberries for this particular person. But this person, after going on a program like we've outlined, you cleanse the bowel, you cleanse the urinary tract, you cleanse and tonify the liver so it can function properly, you do blood cleansing. We do that with the LB, the LG, the KB, the red clover combination. We do that general cleansing. We do the building with the vital herbs and the proper foods. And guess what happens? He went on that kind of a program, and guess what happened? 5 years later, he could eat a whole bushel of strawberries, no problem whatsoever. Okay, we don't necessarily want to cleanse with strawberries, like we probably don't want to cleanse with walnuts. But what we do want to do is cleanse our system and nourish our system and make the environment right so that it doesn't react against good wholesome foods like that, so they don't cause a reaction. And autoimmune diseases shouldn't be a problem if we cleanse and nourish the body. We allow the immune system to destroy those errant cells, to destroy the minerals, to do its job, and at the same time give so many nutrients and have such a clean working system that as the immune system is breaking down those toxins, breaking down those minerals, breaking down that asbestos, breaking down all those things that get clogged up in our joints and in our tissues, that it can be pushed into the lymph and carried off into the blood, broken down by the liver, put into bile or urine, and out through the bowel or urinary tract it goes. And if any one of those systems is not working, you're not going to get rid of the situation. And your immune system is going to stall, and you're going to get excessive inflammation in the area because things are stalled. You don't want to go in and stop the immune system. You don't want to go in and kill bacteria. You want to go in and cleanse and nourish. I'm becoming a broken record, aren't I? Every week you come here, and what does it end up being? Cleanse and nourish. I tell you the formulas. I tell you fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. We talk about the vital herbs and stuff. It's the same thing. You know, why didn't I just get up the very first day and just say, cleanse and nourish, sit down, and just leave? Because I think people, doesn't it help to just kind of hear about each of the conditions and see that it's not such a scary thing that the profession says it is? You know, and they don't have any success with it because what are they doing? They're clogging the system up even more. They're doing things to kill bacteria, to make more bodies of germs and things in there. They're clogging up the system more. They irradiate. They put in chemotherapy. They do all these things, and all they're doing is clogging it up more. I had a call today. This is really interesting. A gal called, and she said that her brother, who has AIDS, went on our program. It's been a couple of years now. He's been on the program. He's doing fine. He's feeling good. He's active and doing things he needs to do. Okay? He gets his levels checked, and he's got a low white blood cell count. Now, he doesn't have any infections. They can't find anything wrong with him, but he's got a low blood cell count, so guess what they want to do to him? They want to put him on antibiotics. Why? They said it's for preventative. What's it going to prevent? He doesn't have a problem. What it's going to do is going to weaken his system. It's going to kill him. They're very, very upset with him because he won't take AZT. What does AZT do? Yeah, it's a very, 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 very strong antibiotic, and it works, but at the same time, it weakens the immune system. And he refuses to take the drug, and guess what? He's alive. And most AIDS people that reject AZT live. And those that take it die. AZT kills. And it kills them faster. And it's almost like they're trying to kill them off as fast as possible. But every person I know that's in the healing arts field here that deals with cleansing and nourishing the body, they've all had success with AIDS. Now, AIDS isn't an autoimmune disease, okay? It's a deficiency of the immune system. But guess what? We handle it the same way. We cleanse, we nourish, we correct. The body has an amazing ability to heal itself if we put the environment correct. It's really pretty simple. We cleanse and we nourish. And with some of these diseases, where they're just wasting away, you got to nourish real fast. So we're trying to get something that'll get right to the cells. You know, when those cells, you have a cell and it needs to be nourished, the nourishment gets in, and then the waste gets out. That waste stays around the cell. Nutrients can't get in. So we got to get something that's going to kind of penetrate that, and these juices, fresh juices, seem to do that very well. Seem to get the nutrients into the system so well. Pardon? Cheese, very excellent. And you know, if the digestive tract isn't working so well, put it on the skin and let the skin take it in. But we've got to get the nutriments in. We've got to get nutrients in, and we've got to get the toxins out. And how do we get the toxins out besides the bowel, the liver, the urinary tract, and blood cleansing? Dean showed some things here. Okay, massage, that's going to get things. Starting to move the lymph. People have to move. You can't just sit there idle. You have to move. And even if you can't move, that's what yoga's for. The breathing exercises, the positioning of the body. Okay? So people that can't get up and move can do yoga, where you don't have to move hardly anywhere. You stay in one place. And they can then get the lymph moving through yoga exercises and through deep breathing. Isn't it interesting, you know? The body needs oxygen so much. And what are we doing for it? Do we deep breathe? I mean, we got it right here. We have a nose and we have lungs, and we can get oxygen in our system. So what are people doing? They're buying H2O2 and guzzling it. And ozone, O3, you know. Is there something wrong with just breathing? Is there something wrong with maybe going up in the mountains and walking up in the mountains and breathing deep? Are we going to get oxygen that way? No, the only way you can get it is by H2O2 in a special format, and it's only known to this one company. So you buy this special formula and you can get oxygen in your system. But don't try breathing. It's not going to help. You know, P.T. Barnum was absolutely correct. There's a sucker born every minute, and they're alive and well and living in the United States. And a lot of them are in the health field. And they'll buy every little thing that comes along, as long as they can take the secret potion, guck. They don't have to change their lives. They don't have to exercise. They don't have to eat properly. They don't have to cleanse their bowels. They don't have to take something to make their bowels move. They don't have to do anything but guzzle this thing, and they're going to be fine. And they keep coming out with these things and coming out with these things, and people go from one thing to another thing to another thing. I'm sorry. Fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. It is simple. It's simple. Autoimmune diseases are not a problem. Remember we talked about diabetes? It's not a problem. We've been having some really good success with diabetes. It's one of the easiest ones to work with. You go to the doctor. He sees you don't need so much insulin. He takes you off the insulin. He takes you off the insulin. As you're doing the program, he takes you off the insulin. He takes you off the insulin. Boom! You're away from the problem. Diabetes is an easy one to work with, but all of these diseases are the same thing. Because you're working with the immune system. Okay? You're cleansing, you're nourishing, you're calming. You're letting the immune system work. You're not shutting it off. You're not stopping the immune system. So you're healthy against other things. Plus your immune system is in a nice, organized way, destroying those cells instead of erratically. So the astragalus and marshmallow calms the immune system down, but lets it be effective.